It's time for the Sports Desk with Mike, Mark, and Kyle. Stay tuned as we discuss what's happening in the world of local and national sports in Southeast Missouri and beyond. And welcome back to the Sports Desk with Mike, Mark, and Kyle. I'm Mike Bueller.
I'm Mark Sanders.
And this is Kyle Roberts.
And we have got a full show today. We are going to be joined in a little bit by a pair of state champion golfers in Landon Barks and Chaz Love from Poplar Bluff. Landon is the individual state champion. Chaz took fifth at the recently completed state tournament, helping the Mules win their second state title in 3 years. And then after that, we will be joined by Scott Kruse, an old friend of mine, and we will be talking about the 18 for Life golf tournament and a few other things. But before we get into that, we're going to talk a little bit of other sports. Before we dive into the St. Louis Cardinals, I want to give a couple of shout outs first to the Portersville Bulldogs baseball team. They are headed to the Final Four after rallying past Veritas Christian Academy yesterday in, I believe, O'Fallon. They were down 5-1 and ended up winning 13-5. So they are headed back to the Final Four. Hats off to head coach Tyler Trover and his Portersville Bulldogs. And also want to give a major shout out to the Oak Ridge Blue Jays softball team. They just won the Class 1 state championship in softball, completed an undefeated spring season behind outstanding pitcher and hitter Kalen Deckard. Congratulations to them.
Undefeated in softball? That's amazing. That is an amazing accomplishment.
Kalen Deckard is absolutely next level. I mean, she was almost unhittable this spring and also had a really good bat. Switching gears a little bit, we're going to talk about the St. Louis Cardinals baseball team, who has hit a little bit of a slump. They've lost 7 of 9 and just got swept by the Pittsburgh Pirates in Pittsburgh.
No, the Milwaukee Brewers in Milwaukee.
Guys, I'm going on maybe 4 hours sleep. So
yeah, well, however you look at it, well, I can see your point with the Pirates, because before we went on the road, we lost the series to Pittsburgh 2-1, and then going into Milwaukee was a really bad sequence for us. We lost the first 2 games by a significant amount, got shut out in the second game, and then lost the final game of the series 2-1 yesterday. Our starting pitcher had a no-hitter going into the 8th inning, and they still lost 2-1. And that just seems to be our luck with the Brewers these days. They are sitting at top the National League Central, a staggering 13 games over 500 at this point. The Cardinals are still 4 games above 500, and they enter a weekend series at home against the Chicago Cubs. Both of those teams are 4.5 games behind the Brewers. The Cubs, however, have gone 1-9 in their last 10 games. They finally broke their losing streak last night or the night before. I'm not sure of the dates on that, and I'm not going to look it up. The Cardinals, however, were 3-7 in their last 10, and I didn't want to be prophetic about what I said last week. I said if the Cardinals could get up to 10 games above 500, they would have to go 10-20 in their next 30 just to fall back to 500. But they are headed firmly in that direction right now. From a high of 8 games over, they're currently 4 games over. Their run differential is back to a -10. That is the most concerning statistic.
yes.
They're still 13-13 at home. That's an unacceptable home record. We'll see if they can get well against the Cubs. It's going to be, both of those teams are good. It's really funny when we talk about the National League Central, because the last place team is Pittsburgh, and they're 2 games above 500. Any of these Central teams would be competitive in any other division in the National League. And get this, the Pittsburgh Pirates, with a record of 29-27, would be in first place in the AL West, a game ahead of the Seattle Mariners, who are leading that division 1 game below 500. The AL West in baseball has become the NFC South. Cleveland is having
The NFC South ain't that bad.
They would be the Pirates would be in third place in the AL East. They'd be in second place behind Cleveland in the AL Central. So,
By the way, speaking of the AL Central, how about the White Sox? 2 years removed from being maybe the worst team in Major League history, they have a winning record and they are right in the thick of the playoff hunt. What the heck?
well, I mean,
That's the office. Look at the White Sox. Man.
oh, I'm sorry, Kyle. That was kind of muffled. Were you
That was
trying
very.
to?
See, when you have the most dominant slugger at this point in Major League Baseball, that's a huge boon for the Chicago White Sox. When you have a Munetaka Murakami who's got 20 homers through 55 games is just monstrous with a 936 OPS. Oh, credit to the White Sox. Huge turnaround. And when I see highlights of theirs, there's actually humans at the baseball game
Yeah.
these days.
Something else about the run differential in the American League. There are only 4 teams in the American League: the Rays, the Yankees, Cleveland, and Seattle, who have a positive run differential. Every other team in the American League is below water on run differential, and it's not much better in the National League. These are the teams with a positive run differential: Atlanta, Milwaukee, Chicago, Pittsburgh, Los Angeles, and Arizona. Los Angeles is currently sitting at a ridiculous plus 120 on the run differential. And the Dodgers are the reason why we're not going to have a baseball season next year. It's why the owners are going to lock the players out until the Players Association agrees to a salary cap. Because and I am all for it. I am all for a lockout, not because I like billionaires or I'm in favor of the owners over the players, but we cannot have this unsustainable system anymore where the Dodgers can just spend $500 million on their salary every season.
And not even that, and being able to backload everybody's contract.
Right. Yeah. They're gonna be paying Shohei Ohtani long after I'm dead, and I'm not exaggerating about that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And as much as I hate to say it, I agree with you guys. You know, Major League Baseball's current model is unsustainable. And as much as I hate to possibly lose the 2027 and maybe even a big chunk of the 2028 season, which is what I fear is going to happen, we may need to do it because if we don't, we may lose baseball forever.
Yeah, absolutely. Some other news from the world of baseball, and this is something a little bit lighter, a little bit more fun. But it was announced this week that Kansas City tight end Travis Kelce has bought a minority stake ownership in his hometown baseball team, the Cleveland Guardians, which leads us to this question. If you could have a celebrity, either from the world of entertainment or retired sports, to have an ownership stake in your favorite team, who would that be? We were chatting about that online yesterday, and my pick is one that's no longer possible, unfortunately, for the Minnesota Vikings, and that would be Prince. It would just be epic if Prince could have had an ownership stake. But since that's not possible, I'm going to go, who better to purchase a stake in the Vikings except Mr. Straight Cash Homie himself, Randy Moss.
Hey, I ain't mad at that at all. That's pretty fire right there. By the way, if Prince was still with, I imagine like if he's already an ethereal being while on this planet, I figure that he would just like float like from like the roof of US Bank Stadium or something.
That would be, that would be absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
So there's lots of celebrities out in LA, Kyle. So who would you like to see purchase a stake in the Rams if you could pick anyone out there in La La Land?
I can't, 'cause I really can't think of like any like major like big time, like famous people that are noted Rams fans. When you think LA sports, like the big most famous fan, you get Jack Nicholson with the Lakers. Believe it or not, Penny Marshall and Billy Crystal are lifelong Clippers fans. Even when Donald Sterling was there. If I'm picking, quite frankly, You know what? I don't think he looks like a celebrity, but shoot, Hall of Famer because he made his name with the LA Rams. Eric Dickerson.
Oh, and I like that a lot. Yeah.
Put some money in ED's pocket. As again, he made his name with the Rams, and the fact that 40 years later he still holds the single season rushing record with people have come close, but if not him, shoot, 80, 99, Aaron Donald is on the side of like, hey bro, you want to come back and play? I mean, just turn down goal, just turn down goal.
Yeah.
Come back and play though.
I would also nominate a couple of former St. Louis Rams, either Kurt Warner or Marshall Faulk would be great. Great to be part of that ownership team in LA.
He did start his career as an LA Ram.
Say that again.
Isaac Kruse, as he did actually start his career as an LA Ram, here was the last season in Anaheim in 1994. So there is a tie there, if you will. But yeah, the Reverend Ike, who I fully believe might be the most underrated Hall of Fame wide receiver in the history of the NFL.
You know, Mike, but it's because he's so low key, he's so humble. I mean, it's like, even though I think he would be a great addition, he's one of those retired athletes that you literally just never hear anything from. He's just not in the public eye anymore.
No, that's never been who he is. So,
wow.
And also think about this. If you were to look at like just on a statistical standpoint, look at the fact that Isaac Bruce's best year was with Chris Miller and not Kurt Warner.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Well, Mike, the Titans are in Nashville, and so you've got the entire pantheon of country music to choose from. There's only two names that come to mind for me, but it's your team, so you go first.
I'm not a country music fan for the most part, but I'm also a Dallas Mavericks fan, and I will just say for that real quick, the most logical choice would be for their former owner to become their new owner, and that is Mark Cuban.
Ugh, no. Bad.
You be nice. I love you.
Okay. Two names for you. Okay. Dolly Parton.
Ooh, that's great.
And since we've already mentioned Kelsey, Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift would actually be a good choice. That's and the thing is, you know, I think she would be a great Titans owner. I think she actually has a residence in the Nashville area.
Oh yeah, she still has a home there. And for you deep dive Swifties out there, when she was up and coming, still a teenager, getting her feet wet in the country music business, she did promotional commercials for the Nashville Predators hockey team.
Oh wow.
And you can actually find that commercial on YouTube. It's hilarious. I recommend it highly.
I will say this. There's a part of me when I heard that Travis Kelce was buying a share of the Guardians, I had a twisted thought in my head. I can hear some of these Taylor Swift haters now saying, you watch, Taylor Swift's going to buy the Guardians and she's going to be Rachel Phelps. And I popped in my head. And
I could not imagine that lady having any level of a hateful bone in her body.
No, not at all. And you know, I saw a terrific quote that was pulled up from a Sports Illustrated article talking about Travis, and he said he just loves that Taylor is willing to go along with him to sports games, because she'll tell you she did not grow up a sports fan at all. She had zero knowledge, zero interest in sports. So, you know, she is supporting her fiance when she goes to all these sporting events with him. And it's just, you know, it's really cool to see two people who are that famous and that successful supporting each other in their own environments. You know, if you followed Taylor's Eras tour, you know, whenever Travis could get to one of her shows, there's a famous one that she did over in Ireland where he showed up unexpectedly and caught her eye in the crowd. And, you know, and her, of course, showing up to the Chiefs games. And there was a great quote on social media that said, I love watching Taylor ruin sports for men. All of the complainers who are like, can't stand to see a successful woman courtside or up in the boxes watching a game. So, sports is about coming together. So anything that brings people in is good for sports, and it's good for us because that's what we're talking about.
Exactly.
Damn right. I mean, at the end of the day, there's no greater form of unity amongst a populace than sports, collegiate, professional. Nothing better at that absolute best.
Oh,
Also,
since we're talking about Cleveland and Major League, I want to jump right on that point that you just made, Kyle. That great scene at the end of the original Major League movie where everybody in the Cleveland bar is like hugging, and it's like like a biker and this other guy who's like the opposite, and they're like hugging, and then they stop and look at each other, and it's like, wait, I'm hugging someone who's completely different from me, and then they're just like, oh, forget it, and they're just that's what sports does. It brings us
Exactly.
together.
Exactly. And that's what I love about sports. And on that note, we are going to take a break. And when we come back, we will be joined by Landon Barks, Chaz Love, and Scott Kruse here on the Sports Desk with Mike, Mark, and Kyle.
This is Three Rivers College women's basketball coach Alex Wiggs, and you are listening to the Sports Desk with Mike, Mark, and Kyle.
And we are back on the Sports Desk with Mike, Mark, and Kyle. I'm Mike Bueller, and I'm joined right now by a couple of state champion golfers from Poplar Bluff, Landon Barks and Chaz Love. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
First of all, congratulations on winning your second state title in 3 years. I know it's got to feel good. Tell me how it felt to do it again.
It felt awesome, honestly. It stung when we got second last year. And we were really striving this year just for the state championship. That's all we really thought about was winning another state title. And I thought it was probably one of the best days I've ever had was winning a state championship again. You take it for granted going into freshman year and you win. It's like, okay, that's cool. But then when you get second, it really sucks. So getting that second one felt really, really good.
And like we said earlier, I feel like last year really motivated you guys because, this year you guys are just on fire. Landon, tell me about that.
It was nice to be able to play good as a team again this year. Freshman year we came out, played really good as a team, got the win. Last year we were playing good, but fell short as a team, taking second. And this year to really put it together as a team for the full year and then get our second state title was nice.
What stood out the most about this year?
Really what stood out to me was the fact that the whole team was really just very supportive and uplifting. If somebody had a bad day, nobody was beating them down. Everybody was trying to pick everybody back up.
And one thing also too that stood out, at state tournament, you guys just dominated. You guys are like right up there at the top of the standings. Tell me about that.
Yeah, we did play really well, and I don't know really what to say about dominating because we did lose a lot this year. We lost more this year than we have in the previous years, but we peaked at the right time, so that was nice to peak at the right time, honestly.
And peaking at the right time is huge. Tell me about that.
Being able to, we all talked about it all year. We really needed to pull it together at the end, and we got in the conference and we all pulled it together. Had 4 of our 5 get all conference.
Nice.
Went to districts and was able to put a good round together with 3 all district players and win our districts. And then we really strived to have everybody put it together for state, and we did. We all put it together and took 3 all staters, and all 3 of us were in the top 5. So
there you go. And the good times aren't over yet. You guys have a lot coming back next season. Tell me about that.
Yeah. We do have a lot coming back next year. I'm really already excited for next year, honestly.
Right.
Can't believe high school junior season's already over. And this time will fly by. We'll go into senior year and hopefully we can win another state championship.
And the cool thing is, you guys have some fun stuff coming up this summer. Leading off, you guys are headed back to the big national championship. Tell me about that.
That's awesome. We last year getting second, we thought maybe we'd have a chance, and sadly we didn't get into it this year. As soon as we won state, that was kind of the big topic was got to get the invite back. When we got the text message saying we got invited back and we were going to go, that was just awesome because it was so much fun the last time.
Indeed. Is that in Dallas again, or?
It is not. It's actually at Pinehurst this year.
Nice.
In North Carolina.
Ooh, that sounds like fun. Pinehurst is like a legendary golf course.
Right.
And you guys have some other stuff coming up this summer. You were telling me about that earlier. Tell our listeners about it.
So we're both getting to go to Missouri Junior Match Play this year, and I've got some other tournaments lined up for this summer.
I'm gonna play in the Mo-Am. Hopefully, I got to qualify for it. I have a qualifier next Wednesday, I think, in Dalhousie at Cape. Yeah, if I qualify for that, I'll be heading up to Kansas City to go play in that.
Nice.
Obviously, we have nationals in July, the match play in June.
Mm-hmm.
That's really the big three tournaments I'm looking forward to this summer.
Good deal. You guys sound like you got a busy slate. Is there anything else you guys like to add?
I think we're good.
Good deal. And that is Landon Barks and Chaz Love here on Sports Desk with Mike, Mark, and Kyle.
This is Three Rivers men's basketball coach Robert Kirby, and you are listening to the Sports Desk with Mike, Mark, and Kyle.
And we are back on the Sports Desk with Mike, Mark, and Kyle. I'm Mike Buer, and I am excited to be joined by my good friend Scott Kruse, and he's going to talk about 18 for Life and a lot of other things. Coach, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate the invite, and really glad to join you.
18 for Life, I mean, wow. And there's so many good things I can say about it, but one of the cooler things about it is it started 25 years ago this year, and I actually got to cover the very first 18 for Life golf tournament, but it has grown into so much more, and I'm going to let you tell me about that.
Wow. Yeah. So, I was thinking about that, and I was seeing some old pictures you took at the first event. They've turned yellow on us now. That paper's faded a little bit. But, man, 2000, it's fun thinking back of all that we didn't really know. We didn't know what we were doing. We knew, with the V Foundation, we were like, man, we could raise money and send it into them. And that would be a good cause. And then you got all these coaches at the time, you remember all those guys, and it was predominantly coaches. And then you mix in the golfers at Dexter, locally. And the next thing you know, you put on a pretty good little tournament, it's just kind of a normal tournament. I think there was like 29 teams. We had a great day. Again, you took a lot of pictures of the fun. We had a great time but we didn't know what we were doing other than we wanted to raise some money. And when we realized that we had raised money, we sent it to the V Foundation, and with Coach Jim Valvano right around, that 93 was when he gave that great speech, and they started the SBs and their partnership, with the V Foundation. It seemed to really fit. But then to fast forward, it really quickly hit gear to where we were like, man, we're just going to be our own charity, because we had a local businessman say, hey, I don't mind supporting it, but I'd rather support it if it was going to help local people fight cancer. And he didn't even know it, but what he was saying was exactly what, that's what we've done. We've set $1,000 as the love offering. We get names and addresses, and we raise the money and send it out. And man, it's taken a life of its own. I mean, we didn't see it coming. Now, I know that day you taking pictures, hanging out, it looked like a normal golf tournament. And then I thought, hey, this is great, but I never would have dreamed it would turn into what it has.
Wow. And tell me a little bit about it, because it's coming up next Friday, next Saturday. Tell me a little bit about what it has turned into, what you've got cooking this year.
Yeah. So, I mean, last year, we celebrated our 25th anniversary. We had, so what happened was in 99, we started planning this thing. And so 2000, we celebrated our 25th anniversary last year. We thought that was the big one, and it kind of was. Mike Matheny was, he was great. Had another great event, but this year we've got Chris Berman and Berman. I mean, me and you're talking, and I feel like we've had legends. I feel like Whitey Herzog, legend, and Norm Stewart was a legend, and Joe Theismann, legend, Rocky Blyer, legend, Scott Hamilton was a legend. That's right. But Berman's like an icon. Berman, me and you grew up hearing Berman's voice you can hear the voice. And it's so he's going to be our speaker on Friday night, June 5th. There's still tickets available. That's one thing I would, you guys could push. There's not many. It's going to be a sellout. but there is a handful of tickets left at 18forlife.com. And then the next day, we go into the golf tournament, and it's went from 29 teams total to now we have 36 in the morning, 56 teams in the afternoon.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I asked AI, now you can ask AI anything. And I asked it, is there a bigger 1-day, 1-course tournament? And he came back saying, oh my gosh, couldn't find one. You've got to be in the top 1% just based on these numbers. So that's kind of cool. I'm always looking for one that might be bigger, but 56 teams in the afternoon, 4-person scramble. It's full. We do got a little bit of a waiting list in case someone, backs out, but mostly these days people play and then they want to keep playing. They want their spot back. So it's been a great thing.
And tell me a little bit about how 18 for Life got started all those years ago.
Very cool. Yeah, you can remember some of these things too. So, I played in a golf tournament with Brian Bess and Eric Schwain and Eric Kirby. Okay, so I didn't know how to play golf. I don't know whose clubs I used. We went up and we raised money for this little girl at Eric Schwain's school, and she had a bandana on. She was battling cancer, and I've checked, and since she's passed. But that day, we kind of reunited our friendship. We hung out on that course. I didn't care how bad I was at golf. Didn't even care that we were playing golf. And I got a t-shirt at the end of the day. And I thought, man, that was a great day. And so, I guess you fast forward, maybe probably that fall, which would have been, 99 heading into 2000, we're at a Mizzou football game, and me and my brother and our 2 best friends, Jake Barge, Kip Musgrave, we stayed up way too late. Back then you didn't really care if Mizzou won or not. I mean, you just went to the game. We started, I was telling them about that free t-shirt, and I was telling them how great it was. And they were like, man, we should do that. They seemed to think it was going to be easy to put on a golf tournament. So that turned into like, well, let's start organizing a golf tournament. And again, being in that coaching world, it was pretty easy to call up several coaches. And I mean, they're bringing a team, and, it's kind of what coaches look to do in the summertime, and so, and again, we raised that money. We picked the V Foundation. We felt like that was a great fit. Valvano's family was so supportive. They would like his daughters would personally send me a thank you note. I thought that was cool. And then this is where you're going to remember that man in Dexter, Dale Stite, said, hey, I would be more willing to support if it was going to go to local families. Right. Well, I was coaching at Twin Rivers, and you'll remember a kid named Jason Malcolm.
I do.
Good post player, very good, quiet, blend in, except for on the court. He was a handful in the post. Well, his family, his mom, we were basically watching his mom pass away. She was coming to the games. They were helping her into the bleachers. Our whole team knew that she was battling cancer. And at one point after Mr. Stite said helping local people, I literally went home and I said, there is no one that would care if we sent them money to help them fight this battle. And my wife's like, no one would care. I mean, no one would. And so that was the first person that we sent that to and surprised them with some help. And I mean, the thank you note kind of reinforced it for me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I mean, this is what we need to do. I mean, if you're in a fight like that, you want help, and you want to know people are on your side. And it just all played into, this is what we need to do. And so we set $1,000, and we've been sending out 1,000 at a time since.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, it has turned into
a
thing of true beauty.
Yeah.
So you're doing, Chris Berman speaking Friday night at the banquet. Then you are playing 2 sessions of golf on Saturday.
Yeah, we'll wake up bright and early that morning round, 36 teams. It plays like a business round of golf for these folks. The afternoon we start at 1, and the only reason we quit really is the sun goes down. I mean, it's a long grind of a day, but it's just so much fun. And we play in 8s. So I got so many teams. I got 8 people coming from Springfield. They come and meet here. They come from Columbia, and they bring and meet some Dexter friends. And it's like a class reunion. It's like wedding reception. It's a little bit of everything. But yeah, it reminds me a little bit of Puxco's homecoming, where hey, that's a weekend. That's a weekend where you can see people if you're from Dexter. That weekend, Puxco people know they're going to run into some people. And that weekend of 18 for Life, you see a lot of people come back home.
Yeah, and you had mentioned, Brian Bess and Eric Kirby and Eric Schwain recently. If I remember right, you guys played against each other in high school.
Yeah, we all graduated '89. We all, and that was before social media. I said, man, if social media was a thing then, we would have been friends a lot sooner, but what happened was after my sophomore year, I came over to play baseball for Roger Patillo.
Yep.
And so that was Brian Bess and Eric Kirby.
Yep.
And then Schwain comes and plays with those guys at Three Rivers after high school.
That's right. And they were Latrell Sprewell too.
They were. And then Schwain had a bad car wreck, so he stuck around some extra time, if you remember.
That's right.
And that allowed him to win that national championship.
92.
Brian
Blackburn.
Yep.
Anthony
Bean.
Yep.
So, man, that we've always stayed real close friends, and at a Mizzou football game, I might see, Schwain or, but about a year ago, maybe two now, we said, you know what, we're going to get together. We're not going to lose this. If you don't plan to get together with guys like that, you really do kind of lose touch. So we've been keeping up, is what I'm saying. And it's been a real joy. But yeah, all those guys, they played last year. They're coming down again this year. They're a morning team. And it means a lot to me. It means a whole lot to me.
That sounds legitimately fun. And I'm going to switch gears a bit.
Yeah.
A little bit of big news with your family. Your daughter is taking the reins of Dexter Lady Bearcat volleyball. Tell me about that.
Yeah, that happened. She coached down at Kennett for a year. And then 3 years ago, got to come home to Dexter and became the middle school volleyball coach and the assistant coach. And the timing is right. And obviously it came open and she knew that's what she wanted to do. She was coached by Carmen Morgan, and I mean, when you're a coach hard like that and well like that, and that's what she wants to do. I've told her, I said, man, your whole goal is for girls to appreciate and love the game of volleyball as much as you did. That's all your goal is. I mean, you're going to just work them and teach them and motivate them and push them. But the whole goal is when they get done, they liked it as much as you liked it, I think she can do that. She got a good group coming. She's got some young talent, volleyball is just played all year round, all around this area, so it's a fun sport to coach. I love watching it. I having my daughters play in high school and watching their teams. I've really grown to love volleyball,
It's a fun sport.
It's kind of, yeah.
Good deal, guys. And that is Scott Kruse. And you are listening to the Sports Desk with Mike, Mark, and Kyle.
This is Tony Webb, and you're listening to the Sports Desk with Mike, Mark, and Kyle.
And we are back on the Sports Desk with Mike, Mark, and Kyle, and we are going to do a deeper dive into national sports right now. We're going to lead off talking about the Stanley Cup Finals. We were talking about them on break, and the Vegas Golden Knights have already locked up their spot in the Stanley Cup Finals, and the Carolina Hurricanes are on the verge of doing so.
Yeah, I mean, by default, I think all of us who are casual hockey fans have got to, at least in spirit, if not in person, root for the Hurricanes to defeat what is rapidly becoming the New England Patriots of the National Hockey League, including all of the cheating and the disreputable human beings who play on their team in Vegas. I mean, Vegas's nickname is Sin City, and nowhere is it as evident as on the ice with the Golden Knights. I was really hoping to see Montreal make it into the finals, but unless they make a heroic comeback, which I just don't see, it looks like it's going to be Carolina versus Vegas. And the NHL, must be looking for windows to jump out of in their front office, just because, I mean, this is the viewership is just going to be atrocious in this matchup. Now, Kyle, I know that you are a fan of the Hurricanes, but I mean, just looking at this matchup on paper, it's not very appealing for the national audience.
And that's fine, because if there's one type of fan that's never worried about what the suits think, it's hardcore hockey fans like myself. I'm sure they chucked themselves out of a window in 2004 when the Calgary Flames forced all their way to a seventh game of the finals with only two notable players and a bunch of miserable muckers. Carolina, to a casual person, the first player that they recognize is the team's head coach, Rod Brindamore, who was a phenomenal player for played 2 decades in the league. He's been the Hurricanes head coach now for 8 years, and this is the furthest they've made it in the playoffs since the 2006 Stanley Cup championship run. They have a ludicrous amount of depth, quality all the way down. They roll 4 quality lines, blue line depth. Frederick Anderson just set the team record for postseason shutouts with the 4-0 Game 5 win on the road. First off, going into Montreal and winning in the playoffs is an absolute monstrous test. But to shut them out on their home ice 4-0 was beyond impressive.
Well, let's go ahead and assume that the Canes close the deal against the Habs. Who do you have in the matchup against the Sin City Knights?
See, Vegas is so misleading because they won 39 games this year and they got into the playoffs because they had 15 overtime games. If you look at their actual roster, they have way more talent than their actual record because they just thankfully got hot at the right time with John Tortorella, who, if you know, when he's on, but when he's not, when his temper gets the best of him, he's Mike Keaton. And right now the Golden Knights are hot. And and I'll say this, if they win the Stanley Cup, it'll be because of Mitch Marner, who they acquired from the Toronto Maple Leafs. And all it takes in order to win the Stanley Cup is to get out of Toronto. See Alex Steen in the 2019 Blues.
Hey, Kyle, what do the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Titanic have in common?
Oh, good Lord. Come on.
It's over as soon as they hit the ice.
That is
that's another tangent for another day. But the Maple Leafs have not seen a conference final since 2002. You know who beat them to go to the Stanley Cup Finals in 2002? Carolina.
Wow.
Waka. All
right, let's move.
I'll take the Canes in 5 games. Honestly, they are so deep.
I hope you're right. Well, let's turn our attention from the ice rink to the hard court. The New York Knicks. And I'll tell you what, if I was the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers, I would have already cashiered my head coach. He had a ridiculous quote going into Game 4, which they lost by 43 points. He said that, well, analytically, we're leading the series. And it's like, oh my gosh, did you just, snort an ounce of cocaine before you went?
You were straight up fired.
Oh my gosh. So, my question really is, I don't really care if it's the Thunder or the Spurs. I mean, obviously the Thunder has SGA; they're the defending league champions. The Spurs have Wemby, and one of the great coaching minds of the past 30 years. But can either of those teams beat the Knicks? I hate to say it, but the New York Knicks actually look like the team of destiny. Could this finally be the year that they bring the championship back to Madison Square Garden?
It feels like it, and it's another one I've been telling a lot of people. This is a case where, we talk about like magic and Cinderellas. Now, when I said the Knicks are not a Cinderella, they're going to go into the finals as an underdog because either way you're facing the most dominant 200-foot player in the league in Wemby and the deepest team in the NBA in the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are also the defending champions. They have tons of postseason experience despite their youth. However, there is a magic to the Garden when the Garden matters, and it matters right now. New York City is absolutely on fire for this team, who is so well coached, and Mike Brown never gets his due.
Yes, is he coaching Tom Thibodeau's players? Yes, but this team is playing together, and they like to play for him. Bottom line is Mike Brown has done a phenomenal job with this team, and he doesn't. I don't think he gets his due because he is coaching Tom Thibodeau's players and the structure that was put into place. But you're getting incredible contributions everywhere. I put it like this: when the Knicks won 130-93 in Game 4 against Cleveland, their leading scorer had 19 points. They said they scored 130. Nobody scored more than 19. Depth, team plays together. They are hitting threes. They believe, and a team that believes in themselves is the most dangerous team. Plus, you have the aura of Madison Square Garden. There aren't too many buildings, and not just NBA, but in the current landscape of pro sports that have an aura or a feel of the ghost of the past, if you will.
Yeah.
When you walk in there and you're playing and these guys understand it's not just playing for each other. You're playing for Patrick Ewing. You're playing for John Starks, Charles Oakley, Allen Houston, Larry Johnson, Latrell Sprewell, and Carmelo Anthony to a point. All the guys who are Knicks legends, icons of the concrete jungle, and that we're not able to get it done.
We're
It's
also
bigger than that.
Yeah, we're also seeing the emergence of the next Knicks legend. I dare you to try to say that 5 times fast. And that would be Jalen Brunson, who's just been an absolute revelation in the playoffs this season.
And you know what? And he's one of those guys when offensively, he can turn it on and lead at any time, but he can also delegate down, and it could be anybody else that goes off on any given night. Could be Cat, could be Mikal Bridges, who's playing the best basketball of his career, could be all NBA defender OG Anunoby. They had guys coming off the bench shooting lights out like Landry Shamet, who I swore the last time I heard his name was 2018 for the Clippers. But that's the key is that everything Jalen Brunson does, and I'm also, by the way, this is a very angry Nico Harrison rant that I'm about to go on. This man was on my team with Luka Doncic, and now we don't have either of them. Dang it. Can't stand Nico Harrison.
The Dallas general manager really should, he should be the object of a class action suit by Mavericks fans for absolute incompetence.
It feels like malpractice. What happened there? But the bottom line is, fast forward to now, Jalen Brunson does not do a whole lot that quote jumps off the table. He's not a super dynamic athlete, but what he is everything this basketball team needs him to be when it matters the most, whether it's on the box score or not. And those factors are immeasurable.
Yeah.
And this team feels special.
Yeah.
Indeed. Before we go, we want to each do a hot take on our NFL teams. I'm going to do a hot take on the Tennessee Titans. I think this team, if we get everything together, we could be in the playoff hunt this year. I'm not saying we will, and I'm probably talking like a fan right now. But if everything comes together, and that's a big if, but if everything comes together, especially with us being the AFC South, we could be a playoff contender.
All of the pieces for a resurgence are there. You're going to have a talented young quarterback going into his second season, and that's usually where you see a big jump. You have an outstanding defensive mind as head coach. You've got a quarterback whisperer as your offensive coordinator. You're playing a last place schedule in one of the weakest conferences in the NFL. I don't think it's that hot of a take. I think it's a mildly warm take to say that you could be in the mix for a wild card spot. I think that's completely plausible.
And that would be great, but it is a relatively hot take considering that we've won 19 games in the last 4 seasons and 12 of those in the last 3. So
you've also had trash coaching and no quarterback.
Yeah, we had Mike Vrabel coaching, but Mike Vrabel may have been a little bit distracted.
He's been
I think he was a little busy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You, Mark, I know you said you have a little bit of a rant you want to go on.
Well, it's actually 2. It's like a one or another. It's going to be like a choose your own adventure, because I think one of 2 outcomes of the Vikings quarterback competition is going to be true. So option number one, Kyler plays lights out all season. The Cardinals lights out all season. The Vikings sign him to a 3-year contract extension before the end of the season, and JJ McCarthy does not play another snap for the Vikings. That's
kind of
spicy. 1. Yeah. Option number two, Kyler gets hurt before the bye. McCarthy starts coming out of the bye and never relinquishes the starting job after that point. That was my original hot take. Kyler on day one of OTAs. So let's make sure that we overreact to everything that we see. But, he demonstrated his accuracy on the field, throwing to undefended receivers without a pass rush and everything like this. But I have to say this, in all due respect to all men who are shorter than 5'10".
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'm listening.
He looks like Kevin Hart out there. He's so he's not just short. I mean, he's small. When he's wearing the Vikings practice helmet, he looks like a bobblehead doll.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is there a bobblehead?
And I am really concerned. I'm not concerned about whether he can run or pass or anything. He's demonstrated that he can play the game. But, I've been in an NFL locker room. I've seen the size of the defensive linemen and the linebackers and even some of the safeties. And it's just like, he's going to be 29 years old. Can they keep him healthy? And that was the reason for my original hot take is that, Kyler's going to get hurt and McCarthy's going to take and one other thing that we learned yesterday, McCarthy is pissed that they brought him in the first place. He is salty as hell, and we'll just have to see whether that translates into a better level of play. But he's not holding hands and singing "Shiny Happy People" in the Vikings locker room. I mean, he's out for blood, so we'll see what happens after that.
Kyle, what about you? Rams.
I've got a concerning one because honestly, I don't think we have too many flaws. My only concern on the field going forward is if we don't make the playoffs because we have almost all of our starting offensive linemen are on expiring contract.
Okay.
That concerns me, number one. Number two, here's my spicy take that I don't feel comfortable saying, but if we miss the playoffs, let's see, we'll get fired as the GM of the Rams because he and Sean McVay, there's a beef there, and it all has to do with that Ty Simpson thing. And I know, Ty Simpson thing again. Listen, Sean McVay didn't want this kid. He did not meet.
No, that's obvious. Yeah,
we've got our guy. We just gave Matthew Stafford a 1-year extension at $55 million.
That was an expensive apology.
Uh-huh.
That was a really expensive apology.
Oh yeah, with chocolate and roses included. But at the same time, Seed went out of his way to communicate with not just Ty Simpson, but his father and the head coach at the school that his dad works at, which is a UT Martin. And he talked to the head coach there, so there was an in there, but none of this was communicated to, I don't know, the head coach of the football team. Yeah. There's an internal rift there that's making me uncomfortable. Well, and hopefully the guys can just lock in and do what they got to do.
Yeah, and it's a plausible prediction because you've got a young up and coming assistant general manager in John McKay, who's the grandson of legendary head coach John McKay.
Throw McKay in the bay from Tampa Bay?
Yes, that one.
Oh wow!
Which I have to throw out just in case no one has heard this quote recently. Somebody asked Coach McKay back when Tampa Bay was on their epic losing streak, goes, goes, what did you think? What did you think? What do you think about your team's execution? And he said, I'm in favor of it.
I'm all for it.
Oh my God.
But the young McKay is a candidate for the Vikings open GM position, and if it doesn't go to him, then he might just be lurking in the shadows behind Les Snead over there in LA. And of course, the McKays have deep ties in the Los Angeles sports community. So I don't think you're too far off base there. There's definitely some friction between the coach and the front office in LA, and I think there's another thing that you need to be concerned about, and that is Matthew Stafford's age.
Yes.
And
Always.
and his health. It's like he worked through his back issues last year. He obviously had an MVP performance. So I don't think you're going to see, a level of decline the same way we saw, and this is old school from Johnny Unitas or Joe Namath. And for our older listeners, you'll remember just the steep decline that they had in their careers. I don't think that we can expect to see something like that, but there is a point at which Father Time remains undefeated, and I think that has to be a concern for a team where your starting quarterback is in his late 30s.
Yeah, again, that was my biggest issue going forward, and that's why I said wait at least one more year because this was not a strong draft class for quarterbacks. And then you go and use that pick at that position, which is normally when you pick a 13, you're expected to take someone who's going to be an immediate contributor. He's not going to play.
Right.
And then that was my problem. Wait till 27 to get your guy. I'm not even going to get into it again because I ranted about it enough that we didn't take Makai Lemon and add some more depth at wide receiver to help out Stafford, or to go get another offensive lineman to ensure some extra protection up front because he's not mobile.
Yeah,
not
to mention the fact that Puka Nacua is a genuine NFL suspension risk. I mean, who knows what he's going to get pull, and Goodell comes down with a 6-game suspension, and now who's your wide receiver one? Oh, sorry, we don't have one. We didn't draft one. We drafted a quarterback. He's not going to see the field this season.
That and that really, really concerns me because we are a very well-rounded football team, but we're also a fragile football team with a little margin for anything to go wrong on the field in terms of decision-making off the field or injuries on the field. We don't really have – it's a fine line because the 49ers are right there in the division and we got to play Seattle.
Yeah.
So we can't afford for anything to go wrong, but that's my hot take. If something were to go wrong on the field this year, I think Les Snead's going to go, and that ownership is going to choose Sean McVay.
That very well could happen. And guys, that's our show for this week. We are already working on plans for next week's show. We've got a special guest already hoping to have on, but we will do that next week. So I'm Mike Bueller.
I'm Mark Sanders.
And this is Kyle Roberts.
And you've been listening to the Sports Desk with Mike, Mark, and Kyle.